Howdy, y'all. Welcome back. It's the weekly wrap-up. It's Liberty Call for Wednesday, December 15th, 2021. Hope everyone's having a fantastic day out there in the interwebs. We have so far survived the wind apocalypse here on the Front Range. It was a little windy this morning. We got a little sleet. But right now, it's beautiful, clear skies. It's a little breezy, but none of the trees that are, seriously, the pine trees we got these giant ponderosa pines on our lot, and they're the size of, missiles. They're huge. And I'm glad none of them fell on either my house, my cars, or my fifth wheel. So good news all around. All right. If it's your first time watching, be sure to like, subscribe, and share with friends, family, and anyone that you think would appreciate some no nonsense, no bullshit, what's going on in the world. So, all right. Let's go ahead. And if you need to send me an email, that you can send it to my email address right there. All right. Let's go ahead and dive into the markets for today. The Dow Jones was up 1.8%, the S&P 1.64, NASDAQ 2.15, small caps 1.71. The VIX receded almost 12%, down to under 20, down to 19.29. All right, kind of a mixed bag through Europe right here, as you can see, a little green and a little red. All right, let's go down to the Asian markets. They were down from Shanghai, down 0.38, down to the Hang Seng, down 0.91. So looks like the Asian markets were down anywhere from about, probably an average of about 0.5%, maybe more, mixed in the European markets. And then, if you were watching the markets here in the U.S. most of the day, they looked like crap until the Fed came out and made their announcement. And we'll get to that in just a minute. All right. Let's go ahead and jump into that. First thing I wanted to cover was the S&P 500 cuts losses as Fed speeds up taper, signals 3 rate hikes in 2022. So let's go ahead and jump into this. This was written by Yassine Ibrahim. All right. The S&P 500 jumped Wednesday as the Federal Reserve said it would accelerate its taper and projected the first liftoff of rates next year. The S&P 500 was up 0.38. The Dow Jones rose 0.28 or 101 points, and the NASDAQ composite added 0.24. The committee said it would increase the taper of its bond purchases by $30 billion a month in January, and double the $15 billion monthly pace announced, or double the $15 billion that they were doing. So they were going to reduce because they were buying $120 billion a month, and they were going to reduce it by $15 billion a month until they got down to zero in June. So they're basically going to double that and do it at, $30 billion a clip. So they should be finished, by April-ish, assuming the world doesn't fall apart before then. All right, so let's see if there's any details. The committee said it would increase its purchases. The timeline of the rate hike was brought forward with up to 3 rate hikes projected next year, followed by another 3 in 2023, taking the Fed's benchmark rate to 1.6%. Risk sentiment improved following the announcement as a faster taper was largely believed to have been priced in ahead of the Fed meeting. So energy remained under pressure even as oil prices cut their losses as fears persisted about supply outpacing demand in the wake of growing concerns about the Omicron threat on travel and ultimately energy demand. So consumer discretionary moved further on the intraday lows as Tesla cut the bulk of its losses. Healthcare led the gains in the broader markets following more than an 8% jump in Eli Lilly after the pharmaceutical giant upgraded its earnings outlook for 2021 and guided further strength for 2022. So some good news today. All right. The Fed is getting off their dumbasses and actually doing something. They've done their best to wreck the economy over the last 2 years by, pushing all this cash out into the economy and, basically bailing out the government and businesses for the second time in my 15 years of being a financial advisor. So for me as a taxpayer, I'm getting kind of pissed with government just doing things completely inept is the only word I can think of right now. So I'm kind of pissed. All right. Fed accelerates bond tapering, sees earlier rate hikes as a curb to inflation. Let's. I just read that. Duh. All right. So I had two more articles, just real brief, that I wanted to blaze through. And first one is now you can save more for retirement, which is certainly a good thing. The 2022 contribution limits. I know I've covered this a few times over the last few months as this information has come out, but I figure it never hurts just to share this information with as many people. Maybe it's your first time watching. Maybe you're going, wow, this guy is really a genius. I should really pay attention to him more often. All right. So let's get started. The IRS has announced the contribution limits for 401ks, 403bs, most 457 plans, TSPs, and other qualified retirement plans will rise by $1,000 for 2022, going from $19,500 to $20,500. However, contribution limits for IRAs, whether traditional or Roth, will remain the same at $6,000. In addition, income qualifications for Roth IRA requirements to have contributions to a traditional IRA to be tax deductible and to claim the saver's credit have been raised for 2022. So they've raised up those limits. You probably want to go to the IRS website, or send me an email. I'll be happy to send you the updated tax facts with all the breakdowns of the brackets. Alrighty. So for IRAs, they have gone up to $6,000 with a catch-up provision for those over 50 of $1,000. Tax-advantaged employer rate plans, so those are your 401ks, 403bs, 457s, TSPs, and the like. It's gone from $19,500 to $25,000. Traditional IRAs, let's see if there's any difference here. The good news is that the amount you can earn and still be allowed to deduct these contributions has gone up. So, all right, here it is right here. For single taxpayers covered by a workplace retirement plan, the phase-out range is $68,000 to $78,000 to contribute to a traditional IRA, up from $66,000 to $76,000. For married couples, has gone from the previous range from $109,000 to $129,000. Today, it's will be going to $109,000 to $129,000 from $105,000 to $125,000. So about a $4,000 increase. And for an IRA contributor who is not covered by a workplace retirement plan and is married to someone who is covered, the deduction is phased out if the couple's income is between $204,000 and $214,000, up from $198,000 to $208,000. So that's a very specific law. If your company doesn't have a plan, how much you are able to put into a traditional IRA. So most people aren't real familiar with that caveat. All right. Most taxpayers still qualify for Roth IRAs. Let's see here. The phase out for income has increased from 129 to 144 for single head of household. So it was 125,000 to 140. And for married couples, it is now 204,000 to 214,000. Is the income cutoff to contribute to Roth IRAs. So, all right, I think that's it. Catch-up provisions for traditional and Roth IRAs for those over 50 will be $1,000. And for your retirement plans like your 401ks and the like, it's $6,500 is your catch-up. All right, so I think that's that. And then I did have one article. This is kind of what's going on out there for people as far as some of the kind of crazier investing that's going on. I think this has to do with the Metaverse and like the tokens. I breezed through this, but I did want to read it for you guys and share it with you. So the search for yield now extends to imaginary land in the Metaverse. This was written by Doug French. So let's go ahead and dive in. Charlie Munger defines old school. The 97-year-old is partners with Warren Buffett at Berkshire Hathaway. He's lived and invested through a few booms and busts in nearly a century on Earth. Speaking to the Sohn Conference in Sydney, Australia, Munger said, "I consider this era an even crazier era than the dot-com era. I wish they had never been invented," he said. Or speaking of cryptocurrencies, "I wish they had never been invented," he said. Munger, a man who has made billions investing in a capitalist economy, yet he said, "I admire the Chinese. I think they made the correct decision, which was simply to ban them." Joseph A. Schumpeter saw capitalism as a gale of creative destruction, describing the process of industrial mutation that continuously revolutionizes the economic structure from within, incessantly destroying the old one, incessantly creating a new one. Munger, believing the communists have the answer, said, "I just can't stand participating in these insane booms one way or another." Well, it sounds like he's a bit of a communist sympathizer. No mention was made of the Federal Reserve's monetary policy. At the moment, Munger and his partner are fans of the U.S. dollar, with Berkshire sitting on a cash hoard of $149.2 billion. It's safe to say Munger will not be among investors preparing for the digital land boom that appears just months away. They are snapping up concert venues, shopping malls, and other properties in the metaverse, Deborah Kamen writes in the New York Times. Mark Twain and Will Rogers are both credited with "buy land, they're not making it anymore." Both men have passed, but their land wisdom left us as well. Miss Kamen writes, presumably with a straight face, real estate investing in the metaverse still is highly speculative. So what they're talking about here is the metaverse is, I don't know if you've seen those weird goggles that like Facebook and some companies, like VR headsets. Well, that's where the technology is going. I don't know if you may or may not be aware of this, but there's an entire society that they're creating within the digital metaverse or, digital universe. And you'll be able to buy, properties and, music and art. And also, I mean, if you can imagine it, it's probably going to be created within this digital universe. And, that's where cryptocurrencies come in, handy because, you could use them in, I assume, in both sides, since they're both just, zeros and ones, or information in a computer. So, anyways, so that's what they're talking about here. So you got the old stodgy guys who are like, no, the US dollar is the way to go. And other people who are, diving, feet first into the digital space. All right. For those who see the future believe the metaverse will become a fully functioning economy before we know it, offering digital experiences as integrated into our lives as where was I? My wife just called. Into our lives as email and social networking are today. Transacting will be done in cryptocurrency only. No banks will be required, and evidently no government. No government. I like. Toronto, Canada. Earth-based Metaverse Group has a virtual headquarters in a world we call Decentraland in Crypto Valley, the Metaverse's answer to Silicon Valley. Miss Kamen writes, Decentraland also has districts for gambling, shopping, fashion, and the arts. Her article doesn't explain how this zoning was determined or how it will be enforced going forward. Rather than to create a universe like Facebook, I said, why don't we go in and buy parcels of land in these metaverses and then we can become the landlords, said Andrew Kegel, a co-founder and chief executive of tokens.com. In case you were wondering, Decentraland is 90,000 parcels of land, each roughly 50 feet by 50 feet. Among investors, there's a sense that there's gold in those pixelated hills, Michael Gord, a co-founder of the Metaverse Group, told Kamen. Tokens.com has broken digital ground, emphasis added, on a tower in Decentraland, writes Kamen. Louis Vuitton, Gucci, Burberry, and other luxury brands have already entered the metaverse via NFTs, which are non-fungible tokens, a move that makes company executives optimistic that tokens.com tower will soon generate revenue from leases and advertising for brands like these. And it says here, a non-fungible token is a unique and non-interchangeable unit of data stored on a digital ledger. As more people participate, it's where you're going to go with friends, where you're having experiences like conferences and concerts. Mr. Gord said, it's inevitable that the metaverse will be the number one social network in the world. At least one transaction has been made in earthly government-issued currency. Tokens.com closed on a land deal in Decentraland's fashion district for roughly $2.5 million. The company claims the purchase was the largest in the metaverse history. Nothing like pawn shops or nail salons are planned, but virtual commerce hub for luxury brands a la Rodeo Drive or Fifth Avenue. The metaverse sounds like it's only for the rich. It's location, Kegel told The Times. A parcel of land in downtown in the downtown core, which has lots of visitors traffic, is worth more than a parcel of land in the suburbs. There's a scarcity value. The only scarcity I can imagine in the metaverse is if there's a lack of information, which seems unlikely. You can buy locations that you love, whether it's Central Park or the pyramids in Egypt. Harish Likar, a founder and chief executive of Superworld, told the New York Times, "What you're buying is the virtual land that covers the earth at those locations." Justin Bannon calls it the merger of the real and online worlds into one hybrid universe, where the fungible and the non-fungible intersects at multiple points, said the co-founder and chief executive of Boson Protocol. Meanwhile, in Las Vegas, Nevada, Earth, a 376-unit apartment complex just sold for $135.2 million, or just short of $360,000 per unit. Although non-crypto-like appreciation, the seller sold the project for double the $65.35 million it paid in 2016. This is the third 9-figure apartment sale in Las Vegas this year. The price per unit is close to $378,000 per unit paid for the Tuscan Highlands project sale in May. We can't argue with Mr. Munger concerning speculation. It's running wild both on Earth and beyond. So definitely an interesting little piece there as far as where technology and money and all that's going. So I would strongly suggest, paying attention to this stuff. And, if there's any other interesting articles you'd like me to, peruse or share with the group, I'd be happy to do so. That's about everything I have for today. I hope everyone has a wonderful evening, and I'll be back tomorrow with Thursday's Liberty Call, and y'all have a fantastic night.